Greetings, this is Stasia. Welcome back. I wanted to do a part 2 to Kundalini and Pain since I've had a lot of response from that, and I've also had some questions come in. So I want to clarify that I wasn't suggesting that you should never take anything to ease pain in that last video, but I want to talk about maybe what I use, and also, is pain a part of the Kundalini awakening? I think that was a question that wanted to be addressed more completely, so that's what I'll go over today. Thank you for coming to my channel. This is where we talk about the awakening process, spiritual awakening. I've been going through this since I think I was in my late teens when I had one of my first awakening experiences, and it's a repeating process throughout our life. It's part of a spiritual maturation. I sometimes refer to as the second puberty, but in Indian and yogic traditions, it's referred to as a Kundalini awakening. And it wasn't until I stumbled upon that knowledge while traveling in India that I really got anchored into this path and realized that a lot of people could really benefit from this information. So that's what my channel is all about. If you like it, please like it. If you feel like someone else could benefit from this information, please share. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, let's address, is pain part of an awakening process? And I want to say definitely not all the time, but largely yes. If you've visited any of my Biology of Kundalini with Jana Dixon reads, that goes into some of this, where we talk about, you know, a lot of the crisis sort of times that can happen. But let's just break it down really simple and say, imagine you are, you know, an electrical wire and you are now receiving like double, triple, quadruple the voltage. Will this fry you out? Yes, it can. Do you need to resheath up and make yourself more ready to handle higher voltage? Yes. So this is kind of what's happening to our nervous systems and to our body as we receive higher frequencies. And you guys, these solar flares are definitely amping it up. So some of the pain that might be being felt is simply from this influx of cosmic energy, of life force energy, prana, chi, owned, kundalini, shakti. Some may also say in the tantric traditions, ma, divine mother energy. So as we awaken deeper to this thing, let's first just look at the spine. So from the top of the spine to the base of the spine, this area is going to be largely affected because you have these three nadis, okay, these three subtle channels, and they're like weaving around your spine. The Sushumna goes right up the center. This is affecting also cerebral spinal fluid, the vagus nerve. All of these things are going to be affected. So the vagus nerve is your longest nerve. It's running the length of your spine. It's connecting into all the organs. It's super important to relax this thing. So when pain is striking, and maybe you feel it in the spine or the neck or the low back, a lot of our tendency is to want to stretch it out, which can sometimes help, but a lot of times this is cueing us to need to regenerate and rejuvenate and allow the upgrades to take place. So that means to chill out. So I know it's really hard for some of us. It's definitely hard for me. I'm going through one right now. I've had extreme pain and inflammation in my spine up to the top of my neck. And, you know, there's some glands up here that are part of the awakening process. Jana talks about them in her book, that definitely become inflamed as the life force energy is pumping more fully. It's easy with the old dis-ease paradigm to want to immediately think something is wrong and run to like manifest that, if you will. Remember, your minds are very powerful, and so if you look at something in a distorted or old paradigm way, you could easily manifest it that way. So just a little word of warning. This is not medical advice. This is not a diagnosis. This is my own experience that I'm sharing with you. And if you glean something cool for yourself, awesome. Just a little disclaimer there. I'm also going to share, and I'll go back and forth. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But some of the things that I use personally when I have these painful Kundalini awakening moments, and I pretty much assume everything is that, just so you know. I mean, there's a few things that aren't, but we're constantly evolving spiritually. We are spiritual beings. We are trying to move these bodies from dense 3D up to higher dimensions. So we're taking them with. So the more you can be tantric in your approach, which is mentally empowering and bringing things up to a higher frequency, the quicker this thing will probably go. And the more apt we are to move with the dimensional shifts rather than check out, right? When we allow life and this flow of chi to come through us, that's when we can work through and continue to open up and allow and hold more light and frequency, right? Become the illuminated one, the Buddha, the Christ itself, the Krishna, you know, consciousness. We can hold this stuff, but the more we fear and we close off to it and we try to resist it and we block it and we say no and we mask it and we, you know, hide it, we actually constrict our bodies, and then the light can't hold in there, and eventually we're going to dissipate in this form. So this is a longevity conversation too. So some things that I love to use are CBD. I feel like that is really helpful occasionally, but not all the time. I use kratom. I say occasionally because it is in the opioid family, so you want to be really careful with things like that because they can become addictive. But if it's getting really bad, you might just, you know, I'll just say sometimes try that. Ashwagandha on a long-term basis, and especially I take it in higher quantities because it helps reduce cortisol levels in the body, and it can really helpful. Turmeric I find helpful for inflammation. I mean, staying off of inflammatory and stimulating substances during especially like a crisis moment or an inflammation. So that would be like coffee and like really strong teas and a lot of sugar, and even chocolate can be too much. I even found like yerba mate can be too stimulating sometimes. So just like staying really super mellow and doing things that are very soothing to the nervous system, like red light therapy. I love to do acupuncture, is really awesome to get the meridians and nadis flowing again. Deprivation tanks, flow tanks, oxygen therapy can be helpful. Gentle massage. Sometimes when you're in an inflammation, a massage could even be too much. The emotion code, body code work I do can be really helpful because it can help release some stuff. It could be an emotion that's keeping that energy from moving. So like I personally had neck injuries when I was young. I got dropped on my head country dancing. I used to be really wild and do all the lifts and turns. And I taught a new guy, bless his heart, how to do some of the lifts. And one day he forgot. Well, I just jumped over his shoulder and landed on the top of my head on a cement floor after the 6-foot drop. And so I almost broke my neck. So I still have a little bit of scar tissue in there. So when energy is influxing and really coming in, then it tends to build in that area. So I've been releasing a lot of emotions trapped around that trauma, even though it was back when I was 19. So we're talking like a really long time ago. And that can be true with any area that we're feeling the pain as the life force is coming in. It can trigger an old emotional wound, and that's where you're being directed with your consciousness. As I spoke in the last video, like pain is directing you to bring life force and consciousness to that particular area. So it's not that we can't cope with the pain using some things like ginger can sometimes be helpful. White willow bark can be really helpful. Magnesium can be really helpful because it is also helps you relax. Binaural rhythms can be really helpful. Magnets, sleeping on magnets can help you, especially attune to the frequencies of the planet and ground yourself, going outside, listening to nature, turning off the loud music, taking some time off or down, away, and getting some time to yourself and having quiet. This is all nourishing to the nervous system. Chanting and mantra, Yoga Nidra, one of my favorites. I do have some Yoga Nidra tracks on this channel under yoga meditation. So if you haven't done that before, check it out. It is rejuvenating. Just 15 minutes is equal to an hour of deep sleep, deep regenerative sleep. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the bulk of it that I wanted to address today. So really take care of you if you are experiencing this. Sometimes points like full moons, or of course when we have the solar flares or other portal moments, more cosmic energy is available, so we might feel it more in our body. And if we haven't worked through something, it's going to kind of inflame. So if you need support on that, let me know. My website and email are down below. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and I check those at least in the first week a lot. And yeah, much love to you, and namaste.